A very warm welcome to you, Tracey. Really nice to have you here as not a participant, but a contributor this afternoon. So welcome. And I think all of us is intrigued by the topic of this afternoon's discussion. And I must say, I'm excited to see over the last 12 months how you worked yourself into this new world, which you had a passion for when we had our first conversation, and you had this dream of building the business around women and menopause and money. So yeah, kudos to you for what you've done around this. And I'm going to hand over to you. So thanks, Tracey.
Thank you, Hendrik. Yes, we spoke very early on with my business, didn't we? When
Yeah.
we're both members of the Financial Therapy Association, and so we linked up on that side. So my role is actually quite unique, and I think I'm the only one, certainly in the UK, but if not globally, that focuses on the impact of financial health on perimenopause and menopause, and really understanding how hormones can impact the way you feel about money. So I've got a little presentation to do. So I'm just going to share. Can you allow me to share the screen, Hendrik?
I think it should be able to allow you. I did give you permission, so yeah.
Okay. Can you see that?
Yes, thanks.
Okay. So I'm really going to go through a presentation that I've created really to try and get you to understand the role that I have and how I actually help my clients, and really just to help people to understand the sort of the connection between menopause and financial well-being. And I really do like my presentations to be quite interactive. So I will be asking you to involve on the chat, or put your hand up if you have any questions along the way as well. So effectively, I describe myself as a personal trainer for finances for women that are going through either the perimenopause, which is the stage before menopause when your periods completely stop, or through to postmenopause. So I really talk about menopause, mental health, and also money mindset. Menopause impacts around about 1.3 billion women. That's about 13 million in the UK. And can you just put in the chat where you're actually from? I think the majority of you are in South Africa, but just wanted to find out if there is any from any other places. I'm not sure, Hendrik, if I can see the chat. Oh, yes, I can. Yeah. I can't see what the response is. Hendrik, can you help me with that?
Yeah, so I'll help you there. So we've got Western Cape, Pretoria, Cape Town, Johannesburg, Durban. So a nice widespread Durbanville, Cape Town.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
Okay.
Johannesburg, so nice South African spread.
Excellent. So really, menopause doesn't only impact women, it really impacts us all, because it has an impact on both personal and professional relationships. So when you think about menopausal women nowadays, where can you find them? Where are the places that are most prominent? Well, really, that is the business community, because 80% of menopausal women are in the workplace. And in fact, it is the fastest growing sector for women. So really, more and more women are going through menopause at work than ever before. So I just really want to rate your understanding of how menopause can impact your financial decisions. And I'm going to ask this question at the end as well, just really for you to rate your financial decisions in terms of excellent, good, fair, or no understanding. And again, Hendrik, I'm going to need your help, because I want people to put in the chat what they feel at the moment and what is the majority, if that's, and then at the end of the presentation, hopefully that will improve your knowledge. So if you can just write in the chat how you can rate your understanding at the moment.
So we've got a good to fair there. Poor, good, poor, good, good, poor. So it seems like a 50-50 between good and poor there, Tracey.
Okay. So hopefully by the end, we'll get some excellence. Okay. So menopause really should be a chapter of success and not an epilogue to careers or even businesses, because there's a shocking statistic. 900,000 women in the UK, this is particularly in the UK, have left their jobs due to the menopause. And 10% of female entrepreneurs have actually closed their businesses entirely due to the symptoms of the menopause. Now, I think that's too many facing a critical decision, which is leaving behind their careers or sometimes their businesses, really due to the relentless impact of menopausal symptoms. And that could be anything like brain fog, anxiety, low self-esteem, fatigue, even hot flushes, if anyone suffers from a hot flush. And as I say, it's not really just women that we need to look at, because the menopause impacts women, and menopause is basically the decline of hormones such as estrogen, progesterone, and also testosterone in men. But also there is something called andropause. Now, I wonder if any of you have heard of andropause. If you could put a yes in the chat, because I wanted to make this presentation for everybody. Andropause can also be known as the menopause. Is there anyone that's saying yes to andropause?
Yes, there's one yes so far.
Okay, excellent. So they'll know then that the andropause symptoms are very similar to those symptoms faced by women in the perimenopause and menopause. Things like low energy, low mood, trouble sleeping, sometimes weight gain, or in some rare cases, development of breasts, which I'm sure none of you really want. But equally, they can have very similar feelings. And it was often known as the midlife crisis, you know, when men would go out and buy a sports car or marry a female 20 years younger than them. And it was sort of seen as that side. But actually what happens is the hormones, which is testosterone and even estrogen in men, really do start to dip. So let's just have a brief look at the menopause. Now, there are 3 stages of menopause. The first stage is called perimenopause, and that is really when you start to get the fluctuations of hormones. So you really do, one day you might be fine, and the next day you have a serious impact on symptoms. Now, a quarter of women don't have any symptoms at all. But for the 75% that do, they can be severe and sometimes debilitating symptoms. And you really can't tell if you're going to get those symptoms. So I want you to think of the hormones, estrogen, testosterone, and also progesterone, as the CEOs of our bodies. And we really need them. They're really important, particularly for brain health. Estrogen is one of the main areas, and that is why 73% of women can actually have symptoms like brain fog or memory loss. And that's why it's really important, because it impacts their function daily and also at work. So these symptoms can lead to communication issues, as I've mentioned, about your brain function, and really impact daily lives of not only themselves, but also their partners and their work colleagues. I often have clients who come to me and they just simply can't cope with the symptoms. There's no one to support them, no one to talk to. And they think that leaving their careers or even closing their businesses is the only answer. Often they're the breadwinners, particularly the rate of divorce between 45 and 55 is at its highest. So they're potentially being financially independent for the first time. So not being able to work is a real impact. So let's have a look at some more statistics that really explain the reality behind these career choices that are forced upon them. And it's not only women that these situations are being brought on, it's men as well, because of andropause. So we've spoken about the 1.2 billion women worldwide, but it really does have a major impact on careers and businesses. And these statistics are really shocking, but it's also a wake-up call for employers. I'd like to see a future where employers support menopausal women and men in the workplace by providing them with education, awareness, and flexible working arrangements, plus other measures that can really help women to recognise their symptoms, and also means that they don't have to leave their careers or close their businesses. It's costing the economy millions of pounds a year, and it's a global problem as well. We're also losing so much talent from the workplace. 38% of menopausal women are diagnosed with mood disorders like anxiety or depression, and 1 in 10 menopausal women have suicidal thoughts. And I think that a lot of these concerns are about financial stability. In fact, 77% of employees are bringing money worries to work. And 9 out of 10 say that they want to work for someone who really wants to safeguard their financial well-being. 73% would consider leaving a job for a company that focuses on their financial health. So ignoring this has a significant cost to businesses, as it affects productivity, and also we're just losing so much talent, this demographic. According to a recent study, women may experience a 14% decrease in wages due to this transition. And that just is, it's really something that we need to really focus on and really work out. I like to call us in this period of our lives, I know we have teenagers that have that impact on hormones, and we all know what it's like to live with teenagers. I call us queenagers. And if everyone understands that actually we are like teenagers, but the opposite, then we might have a bit more understanding. So what are the main financial challenges in this period of our time? And we're talking about the average age of menopause in the UK is around about 51. You can get situations where there's early menopause, but we're really talking round about that period and that life stage. And during this life stage, there's so many financial questions. Am I going to have enough money to retire myself? Am I going to have enough money to support my children? Or am I going to need to support my elderly parents into care? There's increased living and increased healthcare costs as well. And you may have to spend more time visiting the GP, which means you might have to take more time off of work. And I often see women who in the past have always been able to juggle, and they just feel there's no fuel left in the tank, and they feel completely burnt out and not able to cope with it, but they can't put their finger on why. So these questions about financial stability can also be exacerbated by life events, divorce, bereavement, COVID, cancer diagnosis, or if you have this fear that because of these menopausal symptoms, you fear losing your job due to the menopause. It can be really stressful, and it can cause a lot of stress and anxiety. And the hormones that start to decrease, progesterone, is the hormone that really controls your ability to cope with stress. So if you are already in a stressful situation, and then you have a decrease in your hormones, you can imagine that that's a powerful concoction. On top of that, we can look at other areas as well. So there's a lack of knowledge both from the menopause side of things with menopausal symptoms, but also in terms of financial literacy. Women may find themselves independent for the first time due to bereavement or due to divorce or due to having a job for the first time since they've had children. So they need that knowledge of how to be much more independent. We've mentioned about the increased costs in terms of the healthcare costs, and also more trips to the GP, but also the impact on their brain health, because estrogen is the main hormone that impacts your brain and your ability to remember things. Then brain fog comes along and anxiety starts to get you irrational feelings. And some women feel they may not have been an anxious person before, but they may be anxious about going to social events or anxious about driving at night. And then brain fog can cause things. It's not just about memory loss. It's, walking into things or dropping things. I see a lot of women that don't realize that that is down to their hormones depletion. Then we can look at their personalities in terms of the money personalities. So you may have a female who's always been a planner and always good at saving, but because she's feeling very low, she may turn into an overspender and try and spend and buy things just to make herself feel better. So we can see changes like that. And all of these things impact their financial income stability. And it can really have an effect. And it's not, the hormones can make your stress worse, and then vice versa. If you have significant financial shock and financial stress, then your hormones and the depletion of hormones can also be impacted. Then also one that's often forgotten, as I said, 25% of women don't have any symptoms of the menopause, but that doesn't mean that they're not at a higher risk for diseases like dementia, osteoporosis, and heart disease as well. So it's really important, and I call them the 3 Ps during this period. The first one is planning. Make sure that you plan for this stage with a combination of all these things. Make sure that you're aware of the symptoms so you can prepare for it. Make sure that you do have something in place. So if you have to take time off of work, it's not going to impact you financially. And the second one is protection. Make sure that you do have life insurance and health insurance so that you can claim on that to improve your symptoms. And also consider things like income protection. So if you do have to take time off for the symptoms of the menopause that can last for months, then you will be protected. And the third one is to consider having a passive income. Consider having something so that if you have to give up your job entirely, you then have an income coming in. I'm currently writing a book at the moment. It's called, you wouldn't be surprised, called Menomoney. And it's really a coaching book to help women to really think about the plans they need to make, get them to understand their menopausal symptoms and how those hormonal changes can influence their financial situation. So then I look at the financial well-being or financial health, because the truth is menopause can be really overwhelming. Do you focus on your fitness? Do you focus on your nutrition? Do you focus on your mind? Do you take medication like hormone replacement therapy? And you really do need to understand and consider how hormones can impact your financial health. And I think that you should focus on one thing at a time. And I believe that if you focus on your financial health, first of all, it will then make your journey through menopause even better. So what is financial well-being? I don't know if I'm teaching you what you already know, so I'll just go over it just very briefly. I think that financial health is part of complete health, but very often it's the missing piece. So if someone's overall state of financial health and happiness, so it's someone who has a healthy relationship with money, lives within their means, and is able to deal with the unexpected and able to plan for the future. Financial health is not synonymous with wealth. It's not about having lots of money. It's more about managing your finances wisely and reducing your financial stress and anxiety so that you're able to enjoy your money with a good quality of life. And that applies to now and in the future. It involves things like looking at savings and budgeting, managing debts and planning for long-term financial security, but also looking at the way that you feel and think about money, your money mindset. So when you're at work, if you notice a colleague or even a partner, if they have a sign of poor financial well-being, which of these things do you think you would notice? Would you notice a change in their appearance, a change in them doing less socializing? Do you think they'd be more absent at work? Or would you notice that they might be making mistakes at work? Or any overtime, more overtime? Are they requesting more overtime or requesting an advance in wages? Which of those things do you think would mean or could be a sign of someone with poor financial well-being? If you can just put in the chat whether you think that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. And Hendrik, you can let me know.
We've got all, I suppose, all, I guess all, perhaps not overtime.
Yeah. In fact, you're all completely right, because it's actually everything. But it's something that people don't really consider, that actually it can affect someone if they were a social person. And if you combine this as well with hormones and the impact on your brain health and anxiety, all of these can be exacerbated. So financial well-being and financial health is really a snapshot in time. It's a little bit like a financial statement. And your behaviour can change with life events, as I've mentioned before, like divorce, cancer diagnosis, or losing your job, or hormonal changes like menopause. So safeguarding your financial health in menopause is like future-proofing, I suppose, future-proofing, and it really helps you along this bumpy transition. I believe there's only one way to have a prosperous menopause with reduced menopausal symptoms, and that is to align your values with your financial goals. And I know, Hendrik, you've spoken, a couple of these sessions really about, your values and aligning the values together. So just asking yourself a question, do you have any goals? Which often is the case for menopausal women. They just literally, they've had their children, they're running their houses, now they're getting their jobs, and then just not really thought about their future. And if they have, if, for example, they want to travel the world, they really haven't pieced together how they're going to make that happen. So as I said before, I focus on one area at a time, and everything else will be easier to cope with. And I'm also part of the Finwell team, and I'm a Finwell financial champion, and they go into companies purely to focus on financial health. And I go into companies to focus on the financial health purely for women that are going through the menopause and perimenopause. So let's have a look at some of the ways that menopause can be a threat to business and also to careers. So there's hidden costs of really neglecting financial well-being support in the workplace. But we're just going to have a look at 3 ways, really, that this can be a threat to business. And the first one is about performance decline. Physical and emotional symptoms of the menopause, like hot flushes, disturbed sleep, or brain fog, can really affect your focus and concentration, and therefore overall performance. So, for example, women can lose confidence in their presentations, or they might forget the names of their colleagues or clients that they've known for years. Women can be at the peak of their careers and really feel that they're unable to do their job as they did before. They really can't recognise and put their finger on why they're not performing properly. And if their performance is reduced, the impact on their financial situation can be devastating. But it's not only felt by the individual, it's also felt by the company in terms of reduced productivity and increased absenteeism, therefore loss of talent as well. And eventually, this will lead to reduced profitability. So whether you're personally suffering from these symptoms or you're a business owner or even a financial advisor, realizing this can be really impactful. And often it's the women themselves, they can't recognize it. So we need to help them and support them. The second one is hidden costs. 1 in 10 menopausal women feel under-supported by their employees. And therefore, there's an increased risk of resignation. And often these women, as I say, they're at the height of their careers. And this loss of talent can disrupt knowledge transfer and necessitates costly recruitment and training. So it's really important to retain this valuable demographic. And especially because there's an increase in tribunals. Menopause is at the centre of an increasing number of these. And in fact, there's been a 44% increase in employment tribunals, and it's citing menopause as the main issue. And then the last one, the third one, is financial health and its ripple effect. The link between financial concerns and suicide is paramount. It's estimated that 2.7 million people feel suicidal in the UK. In fact, 38% of menopausal women are diagnosed with mood disorders, and 1 in 10 women feel suicidal, although I personally think that it's a lot higher than that because often women do suffer in silence. And there are a myriad of financial challenges, as we mentioned before, but if you combine these with hormonal shifts, particularly in the perimenopausal stage, like mood swings, brain fog, sleep disturbance, anxiety, then you've got a powerful concoction. And on top of that, if menopause coincides with a financial shock, like COVID, cancer, divorce, or losing a job, bereavement, then these financial struggles at home will in turn reduce morale, engagement, and productivity as well at work. So it's really important that employers really understand that menopausal symptoms can cause financial anxiety and vice versa. And that if they can't put their finger on why a particular work colleague is not performing in the way that she did, or if there was someone who didn't want to travel from one office to the other all of a sudden, it could be that she had travel anxiety due to the symptoms of the menopause, or someone that didn't want to socialize. Just consider that it might be the symptoms. If you want to just have a look at some further, I've only gone through the 3 reasons why it can impact your career and also business, then please do click from this QR code and I'll send you a free PDF where you can really dig deep into understanding it. There's only one way to have a prosperous menopause, and I think that lies in the hands of businesses by supporting staff to navigate menopause and really focus on financial health. Because I believe a woman who plans for their future, has a good relationship with money and really feels in control of their lives, will have a prosperous menopause with less symptoms because they'll have peace of mind without financial anxiety. And then I just briefly wanted to explain my story to you because I went through debilitating symptoms of the menopause and I navigated financial anxiety through it, which is why I do what I do now. And I went from being a successful businesswoman and mother of 2 to a curled up ball in a psychiatric ward. But what if I was to tell you that menopause and money anxiety put me there? I couldn't work out what was wrong with me. I just didn't recognize myself. I used to be this outgoing, really social, successful woman. I was juggling a family, always on top of my finances. And I'm from the generation where women can have it all. But I was burnt out. I was forgetful. I can't tell you how many times I've mislaid my keys and found them in the fridge. And it's why I have to write notes and things for presentations, because sometimes I just get a brain block. I had low self-esteem. I was unable to work. I didn't work for 8 months. And I was unable to function. I wasn't even able to get out of bed or even take my daughter to school. There was a lot at stake because I represented 50% of our household income. And I'd worked in financial services for over a decade, but I couldn't understand how I'd let myself get in this position. We had 2 school fees to pay. Our business, which is an accountancy practice, had gone through COVID and we were starting to cope with that. My son was going through his GCSEs and we had this massive extension that we'd embarked on in our house. So we were mortgaged to the hilt. So I realised as I say, I was sent to a psychiatric ward and I had 2 choices, sink or swim. So what did I do? I had to propel myself forward and really work on my personal development. So I listened to podcasts, I read books, I went to therapy sessions, and the one therapy that really resonated with me was financial therapy. And it really helped me to understand my relationship with money and how my hormones were impacting my financial health and vice versa. The one book that really changed my life was Menopausing by Davina McCall. I don't know if any of you have read it. If you want to put a quick yes or no in the chat. And if you haven't, I really do recommend it. It's very insightful. And after reading this book, I realised I had over 80% of the symptoms of the menopause: brain fog, weight gain, dry skin, anxiety, dizziness. And I'd been suffering for about 11 months without any improvement. I'd been in the psychiatric ward, they'd given me antidepressants, nothing was working. So I went to my GP and I said, I've read this book, and could it be the menopause? So she put me on HRT, which is hormone replacement therapy. And within 2 weeks, I started to function again. I was able to get out of bed. I was able to take my daughter to school. But I realised that the financial shock of COVID, the stress of the extension, combined with fluctuating hormones, were impacting my ability to manage finances. And I still had this irrational fear about me being able to do my job again and manage our finances. So I realised I had 2 mountains to climb: menopause and safeguard my financial well-being and really have a positive money mindset, hence the name. So Menomoney, where I proactively address the unique financial challenges that menopausal women face in safeguarding their financial health. And my perimenopausal journey was not plain sailing, but my overwhelming financial situation was making my symptoms worse. Perimenopause impacted all areas of my life. And so really sending me to a psychiatric ward was the best thing, because ultimately it led me to the coach that I needed. And now I believe I'm the only Menomoney coach in the world who links hormonal changes with financial stability. And I really learned to accept the things that I cannot change and try to recognize the things that I'm blessed with. So what can be done to support women? So I draw on my own journey to really communicate how menopause can sabotage your business success and your career, because I know firsthand what it's like to feel overwhelmed by menopausal symptoms and worried about your business and family's financial futures. I believe that women who plan for their future and have a really good relationship with money, and feel in control of their lives, will have a prosperous menopause with less symptoms. So what can you really do to support these women and really to recognize when someone's sort of off their game? Now, everyone loves an acronym. So I've made an acronym of my name. And my husband does say to me, thank goodness your name is not Elizabeth, because it is only six letters. But I want you to remember, Tracey, when you want to support yourself and others in the workplace. The T stands for transform. Transform, I find it so rewarding when I see the transformation, not only in reduced menopause symptoms, but in my clients' money habits and their family relationships and their working lives. You can really retrain your brain to improve your money mindset. And you really can retrain your brain to make you more money. It's very powerful, that subconscious. The R stands for recruit. Recruit experts to support your staff and menopausal women and their financial challenges. Companies can train their managers to recognize when menopausal symptoms are impacting their staff, or if they have poor financial health. As we've noticed before, all 6 of those areas can be recognized. If their performance is affected, try and ask why and try and approach them in an empathetic way rather than a sympathetic way. The A stands for access to flexible working arrangements and protection like health and life insurance, because this gives both peace of mind and also health insurance can ensure that they get the best care without the waiting times. The C stands for create. Create a more supportive and inclusive workplace so that women can connect and learn from others and share their journeys. After all, a problem shared is a problem halved. And if you want to link up to my Instagram every single week on Tuesdays at 12:30 at Menomoney IG, I talk about anything to do with menopause and also financial health. So please do link up with me to find out more. The E is educate. Educate yourself both about menopause and also financial well-being. And the Y is for you. You can change this, whether you're menopausal yourself, whether you're a financial advisor, whether you're a financial coach, or whether you are a business owner. You can actually change this and you can improve the support that menopausal women get within the workplace. There is a proven link between well-being and increased engagement as well at work and loyalty, and therefore ultimate profitability. So I just want to make sure that you have been paying attention. And I just wanted you to ask you a couple of questions. Where can you find most menopausal women? In the park, in the workplace, or at the pub? And remember, 80% of menopausal women are in the workplace. So they're going to be going through menopause than ever before. Have we got the majority of results as being number 2?
Two.
Yeah. Okay. And what is the only way to have a prosperous menopause? Focus on others.
Just perhaps, Tracey, Madeleine says 2. I don't go to the other 2.
Oh, she did. Okay. Okay. Well, definitely won't find Madeline there then. And then the only way to have a prosperous menopause, hopefully you've got all number 3s.
Yes, we've got 3.
Okay. So please do talk to your clients or your employers and consider me for support of doing a talk like this so that women can understand and so that employers can really support women. The good news is that there is a return on investment, and this is through some research I read recently. In fact, you can actually, and this is in pounds, £5.30 to £1. So, for example, you get a return on your investment of £5.30 for every pound that you spend on well-being. I haven't got it for financial well-being, but if you do actually focus and support your staff, you will have a significant return on investment. So the quote that I said at the beginning, menopause should be a chapter of success and not an epilogue to careers or even businesses. And I want to ensure that no woman feels compelled to sacrifice a professional journey because of a natural phase of life. And you all have the power to rewrite this narrative. I want you to close your eyes and let these words resonate. Support women through the challenges of menopause and educate them how to safeguard their financial health. It's not just a movement, but a moral duty. It's an investment in a resilient, diverse, and empowered workforce. And then I just wanted to do that poll I did at the beginning to rate your understanding of how menopause can impact financial decisions in your career or your business. And hopefully we'll get all goods or excellence. We got those results through yet?
Yeah,
Hendrik?
so it's between excellent and good, but a lot of also saying good, moving to excellent, need more information, is curious, will read the book. So yeah, so
Okay.
great awareness that you created, Tracey. So.
Okay, thank you. Yes, if you do need more information, then please do, you can put your email in the chat and I can send you the free PDF guide, or do link up with me on LinkedIn or follow me on Instagram. Shall I put my LinkedIn address in the chat?
You can anytime, Tracey. I think also on the invite I sent out, or the reminder I sent out, I put your Instagram.
Oh, actually, or just my email. I'll just put that in, and then, yeah. Has anyone got any questions that I want to ask?
Yeah, so unmute yourself and yeah.
Okay.
Lizelle.
Hello, Hendrik. Hi, Tracey. Thank you for this wonderful talk. I really appreciate it, and I'm so happy I had the opportunity to log in. You said there was an increase in women over the years dropping out of work or finding problems with their work due to menopause. Why do you think that? Do you think it was only measured lately that there's an increase, or do you think there's always been an increase, it's just measured now?
I think there are more women at work in that period of their lives than ever before. I think that's probably why. But equally, there's not an awful lot of research that has been done. And I think in the last sort of 5, possibly 10 years, people are talking about menopause more and understanding it, but particularly the impacts on the levels of estrogen and the impact on brain health, which then will impact your ability to do your job. That is very new and probably the last couple of years. And there's a lot of lack of knowledge with regard to that link now. But I think the main thing is that more women are going to go through menopause at work than ever before.
Yes, the other interesting thing, just there's very few men in this talk. So how do we get the men to also listen?
Yeah, and that's interesting because andropause can be a real problem for men. And as I said, it's very similar symptoms. I think that more women and more partners that go through it, they will probably seek the knowledge. But I think it's important that we get within employers and male managers to actually understand it. And then those male managers will then, talk to their other friends, colleagues. But I think, I mean, the talks that I do, I would say probably 5% are men. But of those men that do come to the talks, they want it to be very interactive, and they want to improve things. I know for my husband, he said to me when I was going through all of my turmoil, he said to me, if I'd have at least had the understanding and knowledge, he would never have signed the papers for me to be sent away. So it is so important that we do involve them. It may be that after this talk, you can all go and talk to your male colleagues, friends, and just say, did you know about andropause? Did you know the symptoms of andropause? And maybe we can encourage them that way, but it's not unusual.
Thank you.
Mangali says, or makes an interesting statement in the chat. Thank you for your insight on menopause and finances. As estimated, 703,000 people die due to suicide worldwide each year. The global suicide rate is over twice as high among men than women. Do you know of any services towards andropause?
Well, the suicide rate in the UK for women is the highest between ages of 45 and 55. So they think that is down to the hormonal changes. But in terms of any services towards andropause, I mean, the research on menopause is minimal. So to actually get it specifically on andropause, I haven't seen any, to be honest.
Thanks, Mary. Yes, Kerry.
Thank you, Tracey. I mean, you've been on quite a journey, so thank you for sharing your journey with us. I have to say that I'm quite shattered that, I don't know if it's a UK thing or South Africa, but I mean, I'm surrounded by, my social and my professional network is in this whole age group and with women. And quite a lot of them are business and industry leaders, and it's a positive thing. So I'm quite shattered that your talk hasn't brought about or mentioned the incredible strengths and positiveness that menopause brings into your life, because I see the woman in my space. I do understand anxiety, and I'd be interested to know how that anxiety and hormones can link to holding financial risk. But my experience is it's been an incredibly positive experience for a lot of women, not having to worry about falling pregnant, not having to worry about their periods at work. I think COVID has introduced more of a hybrid workspace, so women are able to work from home in a way that brings them comfort during a dip in their hormonal fluctuations. So maybe South Africa, maybe we've also got access to better healthcare in terms of well women. There's a lot more well women practices around in terms of minimizing and managing your menopausal symptoms, rather than just medically treating them. I don't know. I mean, to me, there's a lot of positives that should be brought about and spoken about.
I completely agree with you, which is why I had the quote at the beginning: menopause should be a chapter of success. And this particular,
but lifestyle management and nutrition, it's not just linked to your financial wellness. You can be rich and have menopausal symptoms. You can be wealthy and have dire symptoms if your nutrition and your obesity is out of control and you're addicted to your cell phone. I mean, it's just, I think it's I don't want to see it legislated as a protective or a disability. I don't want to see legislation in the workplace that I'm menopausal, therefore I've got to be treated differently. I think that stigma is going to take women way back, not bring us forward.
Yeah, I think when I talk to clients, it's all about them looking forward to the future. But I think on your point of it should just be about well-being, for example, if you can focus on your financial health, you can then, nutrition or fitness, that all costs money to do that. And very often women are at a situation when if they're feeling brain fog, low mood, everything is so overwhelming and they feel burnt out, they just need to focus on one thing at a time. And then once they can focus, my view is once they can focus on their financial health, that then makes everything else and the journey to success is much, much easier. But I think you need to appreciate that for me, I realized that my situation was made so much worse because of our financial overwhelm. And I think that people don't often recognize and link between the two. So if a female is going through menopause and she's got a financial shock like the bereavement or cancer diagnosis, then they need to consider that will impact or potentially impact their hormones and their ability to cope. But my sort of message is we need to look at one thing at a time, which is your financial health, and you then can enjoy plans for the future financially. We can look at those and success for the future.
Yeah, I think there's just a lot more positives to this. I mean, I know Davina, I've met with her, and I understand she's done a lot to bring the conversations to the fore, and there's a lot of anecdotal stuff out there, and it's good that the conversations are happening, and it's wonderful that there's acknowledgement and awareness of it, whether it's the room temperature that you work in and the aircon degrees between men and women and what women need in the workforce or whatever. But I think a massive part of this is acknowledging the wonderfulness that menopause gives to us. And perimenopause, you can biohack it, you can, there's a lot of things you can do to harness the good in it. I'm not a victim of this chapter of my life, and I don't need to be managed or legislated or protected in a way, or have excuses come my way to my lack of work performance. I think there are steps you take to manage your health. And yes, we need acknowledgement that perhaps the workspace is not geared towards women, the Monday to Friday, 8 to 5, when you've got managing children as well as older parents or those things. But I think it has to be in balance. It has to be, there's got to be led by the positives as well.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, so I see Lizelle says there, I would say that the awareness is key. So I think that is definitely, I want to agree as that. And then, Kerry Ann, to your point, is most probably, I was thinking here while you were talking is if we perhaps remove the but in between and say and, it is having the and, understanding the downside effects of it, but also understanding the positive effects that's coming from that. And is how do we drive both of those paradoxes in life? What is the opportunities? But if I'm in this space, and if we take that back to the ontological coaching model, my narrative is I'm just seeing this bad, etc. I think that is how do I bring the awareness that there is light at the tunnel. It's just my biological system that's causing me to see this with all the other stuff. And I actually wrote down here is also coming back to the coaching model is it's most probably a lot of this triggers that Tracey referred to as it's my biological system plus transitions that is causing the havoc in my life. And then it's coming back is how do I navigate these transitions, but taking into consideration I'm a human being with either men or women, I'm in a certain stage of my life, and how do I take that into consideration? So that was the thoughts that came up for me.
Yeah, it's just interesting. There's studies that show that Japanese women don't have the same symptoms, don't have the same severity. So I think a lot of these symptoms are a result of lifestyle choices and management along the way. Yeah. So I'm kind of like, are we treating the symptom, or are we making it possible to prevent, to actually bring wholeness to the whole thing? But yeah, it's good to have these conversations.
I tend to take a holistic approach to it. And although my sort of focus is to understand whether the financial anxiety is impacting your life and therefore your menopausal symptoms, but really to look at, the lifestyle changes that you're making. So I have what I call my menopause collective, and I have a nutritionist who focuses on how plant-based foods can improve your health. That's why I do the Menomoney Cafe each week. So we can look at ways of improving, you know, hot flushes and those sorts of symptoms as well. And it's all about improving, whereas obviously this presentation is sort of how I got to where I'm doing now, what I'm doing now. But I think you're absolutely right, Kerry. You need to focus on the positives. And I was having a conversation just on your disability comment with an employment lawyer. And she just said, we just do not want menopause to be considered as a disability. And that's absolute, you know, we just want to be able to have understanding, I think, for ourselves, because a lot of it is women don't. I mean, Davina's one, she was doing a show and she couldn't remember what she was going to say. And she thought that she was having early signs of dementia. So, you know, it's really getting that education, actually, just at the early stages, consider it. And from my point of view, if you do consider your financial health, really before you even start having symptoms, if you have symptoms, not everybody does, then I believe that your symptoms can be minimized.
Any last questions or thoughts for Tracey? So then from my side, Tracey, thanks a mil. I will in any case share the recording also with everybody, and I created a community space to where I'll also give you all access to and I'll share the resources and Tracey's link and everything also in that space. So yeah, thank you very much, Tracey, for your time and sharing.
Thank you.
It was very insightful, and yeah, always great for us to bring that into our conversations and being more aware where different clients can be at and understanding those intricacies playing out in our financial planning. So thank you very much. I also see in the